Hello, everybody. My name is Latrell Crittenden. I am interim board director of G-Town Radio here in Germantown and an editor and co-researcher with the Germantown Info Hub, a hyperlocal news outlet serving the Germantown neighborhood. I'm also the program director at Thomas Jefferson University in East Falls. And as we've been doing these the last few weeks, we've just been telling you a little bit about the Germantown Info Hub. We are a hyperlocal outlet that does cover news and information in Germantown. And usually we have engagement in person, but because of the COVID-19 outbreak, our outreach has actually moved on to the airwaves via our partner here at G-Town Radio. Like many media outlets, we are working remotely and repurposing some of our technology, so bear with us with any type of technological difficulties we may run into. You may hear a 2-year-old run into the room. That could possibly happen. But we certainly want to hear from you during this time. Please connect with us. Our number is 215-609-4301, and we will be live tweeting as well. And follow this and all of our conversations on G-Town Radio using the hashtag G-Town Info Hub Radio. We have 2 guests today, and our first guest today is City Commissioner Omar Sabir. We'll also be speaking with Imam Hassan Abdi of Germantown Mosque later in the hour. But first, we would like to speak again with Commissioner Sabir, and we're going to focus on issues related to voter registration and voting in general. Commissioner Sabir, thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate this. We have a lot going on today. Our family's actually hosting an iftar. We're actually giving out food, grab and go iftar. So we're giving out food to people to break their fast today. So it's a lot going on, but I definitely thank you guys for having me. Thank God for technology.
Thank you again. So, again, we want to talk about the election, and one of the things that's coming up very soon is the Pennsylvania deadline to be eligible for the primary is Monday, May 18th, correct?
That's correct.
So how can Pennsylvania residents get registered?
Okay, it's real simple. It's a simple process. They can go to votespa.com, and then they can get registered right online, or they can call 877-VOTES-PA, and they can get registered. Or they can fill out a paper voter registration form and then mail it in to the county office. I prefer online. 9 out of the 10 applications that we receive are processed electronically now. Safe, it's convenient, given the circumstances that we're in. And you have up to 11:59 on May the 18th. So you have up to 11:59 p.m. To apply, to get registered. And while you're getting registered, right at the same exact time, you can apply for your vote by mail application. That's the same website. You can apply for your vote. You can make your request for your application. Once you make your request, within 5 days, you should be receiving a ballot from the Philadelphia County office. You then fill out the ballot. You make sure that you sign it. And then right as soon as you send it back, you have voted. Return postage is paid for. It's easy as 1, 2, 3.
So I'm glad you brought up the vote by mail option, and that's one of the things that will make this particular primary look very much different. So again, once you actually go through the process and you're registered, how would you actually go about making sure that everything is squared if you're actually mailing in?
Okay, so when you apply for your vote by mail application, you will receive a confirmation number. It's like, similar to a confirmation number like you do at Amazon or you purchase anything online. You have that confirmation number. You'll be able to follow up and track your ballot down even after you mail it in. We'll be able to trace and follow up to figure out whether or not we received it or not. Again, like I said, it's a pretty good process. I was actually quite surprised by it because, I filled out my application, but, I was the first time I ever done it before. I was a little bit nervous, and I'm city commissioner, and but the process was easy. I voted last week, and and I felt good knowing that I cast my ballot, and I was actually safe in the comfort of my own home while I did it.
So once you get your ballot, you're actually able to vote immediately?
Yeah, you vote immediately. You have a return envelope in there where the postage is already paid. So all you have to do is just, fill out your vote. On one side is going to be the delegates. There's going to be ballot questions. And then on the other side, you're going to have your president. You're going to have your auditor general. You're going to have a few other different candidates that's running for office. You're going to cast your vote, state reps, state senators. You're going to, cast your vote, and then you put it right back inside the mail. You sign the voter declaration on the outside of the envelope, and then as return postage. So whenever your mail person is delivering mail, you can hand that envelope to them, and then they can take it and put it right in the mail.
You're listening to the Germantown Info Hub Hour on 92.9 FM G-Town Radio. The big news that actually came out this week is the fact that there was an agreement in principle that would significantly reduce the number of polling places in the city from over 800 locations to just 190 venues. While all of us understand concerns over virus transmission, what do you say to those who are equally concerned that this move will depress voter turnout, notably with the mail-in deadline looming?
Well, I mean, just to put everything all into perspective, we had a 30% voter turnout even before COVID. So, 7 out of 10 Philadelphians didn't vote. And when you're looking at Black and brown communities, that number is actually even worse. I hear the narrative, this might hurt voters. We already had an issue with voting. Just to be clear, it's not like we were at, 90%. And then, COVID comes and then we go down to 20% or so. But we're actually on par. We expect about 200,000 to maybe 250 to participate in the process. In 2016, we saw 400,000 people participate in the process, but that was with a contested primary with Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. So the expectations, Bernie Sanders dropped out the race, so it's just Joe Biden. So we expected about a 30% turnout. That's just if circumstances were normal. So, we processed 125,000 already. Coming to the deadline, we might be able to get 200, 250, and then we make another 7,500 to the polls. So, so we're on par, and I want to be, clear about that we're on par to basically be at the expectations where we were at. But again, COVID-19, no one can account for COVID-19 because again, as my job as commissioner, I want to make sure that everyone is safe, and if you can vote, that's fine. But with this contagious virus, the average voter is 60 years old. The average election board worker is 60 years old. And we know that COVID affects people in that vulnerability age group a little bit harder than other people. And we know that we had the nursing homes, fire departments were unavailable for us to use polling locations. So out of the 831 locations, that's like maybe 250 or so locations that we couldn't use anyway. So you're down to 600, anyway. And then when you want to practice social distance, right now we have a stay-at-home order from the governor from June the 4th. All of public buildings are closed, so even if you do open up any location, you have to practice, social distancing. So it's a logistical challenge that's going on. So we had to do it. And I say all that to say, we had to do it. It wasn't like our choice. I like voting in person. I love it. But at the end of the day, these are the cards that were dealt to us. And, and if Act 77 wasn't signed into law by October 31st, I really don't know what this, I really don't know how our vote really would have been, counted. We would have really had it would have been disastrous. So, so we had this opportunity to do it. We could vote from home safely, securely, and simple. And, that's the way I vote, and that's the way I'm encouraging people to vote. Again, Election Day is not going to look like any Election Day that you've ever seen before. There are 66 wards in Philadelphia. So you probably have about maybe on average, maybe 2 or 3, locations, per ward. So, I mean, that's the circumstances they were in. And, so I'm encouraging everybody to vote by mail to avoid Election Day altogether.
Well, for those who do make the decision to go to the polling place, how can they find out where their polling place will be once everything is cleared?
Okay, so every registered voter will receive a voter ID card. And in this voter ID card, it will tell them where their exact polling location is. There will be signage on all of the previous polling locations, letting everyone know what location there is. And then you can go to PhiladelphiaVotes.com on our website, and we have it broken down by every division on where your polling location will be at.
Thank you very much. Do you think that there are studies that show that, particularly for Black and brown communities, mail-in voting actually increases turnout, particularly for the November election? Or do you have any anticipation on how that might impact the overall turnout in November?
Well, I mean, again, this is the first time that we're doing stuff, doing this implementation. And, there was, when the legislature passed it, it was an unfunded mandate, meaning we didn't have any resources from the state to purchase commercials, to purchase, to do events in communities, faith-based communities. And, we didn't have no budget. I mean, so, I thought that was a bit irresponsible from the Republican-controlled legislator to pass it. Because the first time when you're doing something, you want to educate people. So what we're seeing, we actually saw a drastic decline in votes. And so what does that mean? The 5th and the 8th ward are 2 of the largest center city wards. The 8th ward, as of May the 12th, they applied for 9,000 vote by mail applications, right? And in the 50th ward, just in comparison, right, it's in Northwest, it's one of our best wards as far as Black and brown communities. We saw about 1,700 applications, being processed. So the 50th ward is the best. So, I mean, you can imagine, the numbers, how it is all across the city. So, there's a divide. And, we have to, look at it. We have data. And then we can see what type of changes that we can make moving forward for November.
And that's where I wanted to end, is that the primary will come and go, and most people are focused specifically with this election on November. What are you planning to do to ensure that those votes are that people really do have that opportunity to vote and make sure their vote is counted in November if the COVID crisis is still ongoing?
Well, I mean, we have did outreach to different various private organizations, as well as the state, the federal government. We've been asking for more resources in order so we can do education, we can do outreach. Because again, like I say, with the COVID, it can be a second wave, whereas though it can shift to all now. That's something that was floating around in the legislature where, that's something that can happen. We've seen other states do it, like Washington. We've seen Oregon, when they mail out the ballots, and the turnout was pretty good by it. But again, when it's the first time you're doing something, you have to educate people. You have to educate people. I said that 3 times for a reason. Mm-hmm. Hopefully someone is listening, that's a policymaker. You have to educate people on the process. We have to break down all of the stigmas. And what we've seen a lot on social media, we saw a lot of misinformation coming from Washington, D.C. People talking bad about the mail system, just inaccurate information. And again, that's for voter suppression as well. So ultimately, and I say this to African American communities, Black and brown communities, so many people died for our right to vote. We went through water hoses being used on us, dogs being sicked on us, people actually, losing their life, to vote. So again, we cannot let their deaths be in vain. And, we need to vote. But we really have to answer the question. President Trump proposed the question in 2016. And I don't think that it has been answered yet. He asked the Black and brown community, what do you have to lose? Why vote? What's the point? And I don't think that African American leaders have done a great job in answering that. And the only reason why I say that is because our turnout has been bad for the last. It's been bad, and it's been on decline for the last 10 years. So we definitely have to come up with a strategic way how we just got to get people just to want to vote. We have to answer that question. I say, resources, accountability from elected officials, but a lot of people don't. A lot of my constituents, they don't see the benefit in voting or reason to vote.
Thank you for your time. If people needed to contact you, do you have any way for people to contact you?
Yes, I do. Okay, of course, a lot of information, the question you may have, you can go to PhiladelphiaVotes.com. I make it answered. My personal office number is 215-686-3462. 215-686-3462. And my email address is Omar, OMAR, .Sabir @phila.gov. OMAR.Sabir@phila.gov. And you can send me an email if you have any questions, if you have any concerns. But again, if you're listening, please apply for your vote by mail application. As soon as you receive your ballot in the mail, please send it back.
Thank you. I know you were busy today, and thank you for spending so much time with us on the Info Hub Hour.
Sure. Thank you. Have a nice day, guys.
You're listening to Germantown Info Hub Hour on 92.9 FM, G-Town Radio. We are going to take a short break.
You are listening to 92.9 FM, WGGT LP Philadelphia, and we return back to the InfoHub Hour.
Thanks, Tom. And now for our newest segment, This Week in G-Town. We are joined by the InfoHub's community reporter, Nicole Curry, for our weekly news and events roundup. How are you doing, Nicole?
Hi, Latrell. I'm doing fine. Just making it.
So before we get into everything, why don't you just tell our listenership about yourself? You've been with the InfoHub for a little while now, but a lot of people may not have gotten the chance to connect or know you. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, awesome. So my name's Nicole, and I've been working with the InfoHub for a little bit under a year. Prior to that, I was completing my master's degree program at Temple University, and that's kind of how I found the InfoHub. And through a series of a couple of projects I did just volunteer, I thought it'd be a good place. So that's how I became the community reporter. And I love it. I love Germantown. I love the InfoHub, and I love what we're doing. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you very much. Now, you've already done a few stories, and one of them was actually on the election coming up, and we just had Omar Sabir on talking. Is there anything that you would like to add in terms of what he happened to say that we may not have addressed that may have been addressed in your story?
I think Commissioner Sabir covered a lot. Just one of the things I hope people understand that is what he said, this election is not going to look like any other election you've seen. So just the pressure on, mailing your ballot. And I also liked what he said about, the different the different wards or the different areas in Philadelphia and how many mail-in ballots they've received. It kind of just shows, possibly the lack of education or the miseducation going on and how to do this new process of electing people for the primary. So I think it's important to just make sure you are educated so that this process can go as smoothly as possible when it comes to electing an official.
Another story that you were working on, and unfortunately we haven't been able to get our second guest, but it was on things that the Germantown Mosque is doing to try and make sure that members can actually celebrate Ramadan. Can you tell us a little bit about that particular piece?
Yes. So I got a chance to speak to the Germantown Masjid. And as a lot of people know, Ramadan started April 23rd, and it's going to end May 23rd. But let me just explain. So at the end of Ramadan every day, people are to break their fast at sunset. But with the effects of the pandemic and financial hardships that may be going on, the least they wanted to do was to allow people to easily access food so they can break their fast. Because as we remember, this is a sacred holiday, and it's very traditional, and they wanted to make sure that their community is able to do that. So they have this iftar delivery service program, and iftar is the meal that you eat to break your fast. That's the Arabic term for it. And so what they do is they deliver hot meals before sunset every day to those who are in need. They do have a priority for those who are really in need and the elderly, but they don't turn anyone away. All you have to do is text their number or call their number and bring it up. Their number is 267-237-0414. And you can, they'll supply daily hot meals for you before sunset. And then you, of course, can break your fast accordingly.
And there's a third story that you've been working on that is connected to Germantown Residents for Economic and Alternatives Together, or GREAT. Can you tell us a little bit about that piece?
Yeah, so this past weekend, GREAT open up their applications for their mutual aid fund. And so basically what that fund is going to do is help people pay for essential needs. So if it's your electric bill, your rent, your mortgage, getting transportation costs down, medicine costs, co-pays to your doctor visits, they are willing to fund those needs. And so what it is a donation-based fund. So people in Germantown have been submitting donations. And last time I checked, they have over $10,000 so far. And so I think in a few weeks, towards the end of the month, they're going to disperse that money to the community for those who have applied for the fund. And I believe you can go to www.greatgtown.org/mutual-aid, and you'll find out more information about applying for the fund. There are a few priorities they have, and they go into detail about what questions be on the application. For example, they'll ask how long you've lived in the neighborhood, how are you financially impacted, your urgency of request, things of that nature. And then also, what I thought was interesting is that they highlight some priorities. So single income households, people caring for elderly or caring for children, and longtime Germantown residents. Mainly when I was talking to, I spoke with Jill Saul, which is a member, and I believe Lindsay Stolke and Marie Monique, Marie Monique Martol. Those are three members from GREAT. And basically what they were saying was that Germantown is a very old neighborhood that has a lot of traditions and a lot of members that don't want to leave this neighborhood. And so the bottom line for them is they don't want to see anyone be forced out of their neighborhood either, because with all the topics of gentrification and new developments and people being forced out of their homes and even the subject of home ownership, they just want to make sure that while we are experiencing the effects of the pandemic, that hopefully no one will have to leave this neighborhood that they once called home. So that's a little bit, that was a mouthful, but that's a little bit about that story.
Absolutely. And if people want to apply for aid, is there a website that they can, or donate aid, is there a website that they can go to?
Yeah, so they can go to www.greatgtown.org/mutual-aid. And then also they have, if you want to donate to the fund, they have a Chuff page. It's sort of like a GoFundMe. It's CHUFFED. And hopefully we can get that web address out soon, because I don't have it in front of me right now, but that's to donate. But I'm sure their website that I mentioned has all the information as well.
And we can certainly make sure that is linked to our website with the Info Hub. And on that note, can you tell people how they would get in touch with you if they wanted to pitch any stories or just talk to you about anything happening in Germantown?
Yeah, I always say Facebook is the best way to connect with me. That's surprisingly how I connect with a lot of people in Germantown. Germantown is very live on Facebook through their multiple groups and pages. But yeah, I say Facebook. And then also you can reach out to my email. It's Nicole, NICHOLE .Currie, CURRIE @temple.edu. Those are a couple ways you can reach out to me. And then also follow our Medium page.
And what is our Medium page?
Our Medium page is Medium, medium.com/Germantown-info-hub.
Thank you very much for sharing that information, and thank you for speaking with me about recent stories on the Info Hub. And again, you can find all of this information at the site. You have been listening to the Germantown Info Hub Hour. My name is Latrell Crittenden, and thank you for your time, and I hope that you will tune in next week.